Hey, come in. Thanks for stopping by. I got a story for you. I've been working on it for a couple months now. Have you ever seen Catch Me If You Can? What about Doogie Howser, MD? Well, fiction, right? Not quite. This story involves a mix between the two of them and a 17-year-old kid named Zachary Bailey. Thousands of people from all over the state, in fact, some from all over the country, came to hear Donald Trump speak about everything from border protection to the January 6th committee. Here in Corpus Christi, 1 out of every 3 people who claim a religion attend a church under the Diocese of Corpus Christi. And while so much good can happen behind these doors, there's also a dark side. As 6 Investigates has spent the last few months digging on into those expenditures made by Executive Director Sean Strawbridge over a 14-month period. Now, we have found airline tickets purchased to visit his girlfriend, a $200,000 trip to Israel, and tickets to see the World Series. Audit committee will be conducting oversight into the expenses and entertainment travel budget for the executive branch. Let's say you get arrested but can't afford an attorney. The court would then appoint you one. You'd hope that your case would be top priority for that attorney. But when taking a look at their pay and caseload, it may suggest otherwise. We begin with some major developments in our years-long water crisis. We now have a potential timeline on when a level 1 water emergency could be declared. A lot of changes have been made around the Harbor Bridge, including the closure of 2 different ramps and, of course, this DPS trooper stationed here at all times. Over the last year, 60 people have reached out to 6 Investigates about Corpus Christi memorials, almost all of them with the same exact story. They paid for a headstone or for a burial marker and never got it. Most of those calls came in December when Corpus Christi Memorials closed its doors. And the more we dug into this story, the more we found a connection between CCM and the cemetery in Taft that we told you about on Monday. This is Joe David Padron. He spent the last 20 years behind bars for the Mary Street murders. It's a crime that he says he didn't commit. The Innocence Project of Texas is taking his case, and now, following the findings of a local district court judge, he may be released. I sat down with Padron and his family to hear his story in this 6 Investigates exclusive.
I never really thought that I could do this. Do almost 21 years. It's been 20 years and 6 months, actually. I never thought that I can endure this type of stress.
In 2002, police arrested Padron on the charges of killing 2 men on Mary Street in what investigators called a gang-related crime. The Nueces County District Attorney's Office, who did not have any physical evidence against Padron, used testimony from a witness who changed his story after prosecutors offered him a plea deal on a separate case.
After numerous attempts trying to get him to cooperate and find out who did this so they can go get him, finally they offered him a deal. He ended up getting probation for 5 felony charges. Where do they do that? 5 felony charges. And all you have to do is lie.
The prosecution also used Jailhouse informants who claimed that Padron admitted to some involvement in the murders. It's a type of informant that Mike Ware with the Innocence Project of Texas calls misinformants.
These are a different kind of witness. Even the legislature recognizes that these kinds of witnesses are treated differently than every other kind of witness because these laws only apply to these kinds of witnesses. That's how dangerous all of them are.
These informants were also compensated by the prosecution.
Witnesses who testified at our trial, right? Who got these deals, looking at 25 years to life, ended up with 2 years probation.
There are laws in place that limit the scope of these witnesses and require the prosecution to inform the jury of any deals that have been made. Those laws were not in place during Padron's trial in 2004.
Each of these witnesses had already been facing time, 25 years to life, and in one case, the death penalty. And everybody knew that all you had to do was lie, make up something about any case, big case, and you can get a deal.
But now witnesses are coming forward. In February of this year, one witness said the prosecutor on the Padron case gave him a deal to testify in another case. Testimony he now says was false.
I don't even sleep. I can't sleep. In my heart, I know that I was wrong. And to this day, I think about it every day. There's an innocent man in prison because of, testimony that I gave. The truth is the truth. I think it is long overdue that, the truth comes to light. I'm getting old, man. One day I may die and the truth may never be told.
The Innocence Project of Texas also claims that the prosecutor, James Sales, demanded at least one witness change their testimony and threatened him with a death penalty if they didn't.
Did he make it real clear to you that if you turned it down, that he was going for the death penalty?
Yes, sir.
We are innocent until proven guilty. Our prosecutors are not supposed to cheat. We're not supposed to rewrite testimony. We're not supposed to say, hey, I'm going to give you this deal if you change the truth.
We did reach out to Sales several times over the last few months for comment on these allegations, but have yet to hear back.
He was wrongly convicted, and for me, he has suffered long enough, and this is his chance to make it right.
Padron's 20-year prison stays also had an impact on his family, especially his two daughters, Samantha and Liberty.
I feel like he's missed out on so much, just being with family, missing out on his daughter's life. I mean, my whole life I didn't have him, so it was very hard,
31, and I don't know him either. He's been incarcerated my whole life.
Meanwhile, Padron's mother hasn't given up hope that her son will one day come home.
This is not fair, and this is not justice, but truth will prevail, because this is the truth. Joe David Padron, come home, Nico. Miss you.
Now, findings by District Court Judge Ina Klein say that Padron's conviction should be set aside and he should be given a new trial based on the state's use of false testimony. Now, the Court of Criminal Appeals will make the final decision if granted. The Nueces County District Attorney's Office must then decide if it will retry these cases. Allegations of sexual assault.
There are countless victims. You're right. We don't know how many there are.
Sex trafficking.
I honestly believe by seeing this, what we're dealing with is a cult. I think they've been groomed.
And child molestation perpetrated all across the country, including right here in Corpus Christi.
They were minors. This is pedophilia. This is criminal.
Good evening. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Bryan Hofmann, and tonight's newscast is going to look a little different. It's going to be devoted to one important story. It all started when we started looking into a case of sexual assault at the Chi Alpha Campus Ministries at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We learned it ran much deeper and spread far wider than just in the coastal bend. What seemed like an isolated incident is actually part of a widespread problem encompassing the Assemblies of God. It's the world's largest Pentecostal church. The subject matter may be disturbing for some, so viewer discretion is advised. Chi Alpha Ministries can be found on more than 300 college campuses across the country. Those chapters are all part of the Assemblies of God, a Pentecostal denomination with more than 85 million members worldwide. Its mission is to, quote, reconcile students to Jesus Christ, thereby transforming the university, the marketplace, and the world.
Chi Alpha is the biggest producer of foreign missionaries.
For the past several months, we've looked into allegations involving Chi Alpha Ministries. Our reporting uses some video now taken down from the Assemblies of God and Chi Alpha websites, but given to us by victims who saved it. It's also based off of court documents and legal filings, interviews with pastors, former Chi Alpha members and abuse survivors, experts and attorneys revealing a system of abuse that preyed on young people, specifically young men and teens.
Minors, some of them were adults in college. They were mentored by these other people that were in this fraternity, so to speak. So you have to have that, there's that power imbalance, and that alone it's never consensual when there's a power imbalance, never.
Ron Blumenkemper is a former member of Chi Alpha. He says that power imbalance contributed to the abuse that he experienced.
You got to get nude and masturbate in front of me, because nudity is unity. And you know, we can't really be brothers in Christ unless I see your penis. I mean, that's stuff that's being taught.
And that nudity is unity line, it's something former Assemblies of God pastor J.R. Armstrong has heard for years.
To hear it once or twice is one thing. When you begin to hear it years of victims and from different campuses, when their testimony uses that phrase over and over, you know that that's what was happening. Classic cult mentality and classic predator grooming.
From what we can find, it all started with this man, Daniel Savala.
I'm a registered sex offender. I know that I'm deceptive.
His involvement with the Assemblies of God dates back to before 1989, where he was cited as a Chi Alpha staff member and worked as a, quote, traveled missionary out of Louisiana. Allegations against Savala surfaced back in 2011, but dates back to the 90s when he worked as a youth minister in Alaska. Clint McLeenan was also a youth pastor when Savala was there.
The kids up here were kids. They were early teens, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, that age group.
Now, as we mentioned, the allegations from the 90s didn't come to light until 2011. Patty Koo with the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests says that this, unfortunately, is a common occurrence for male sexual abuse victims.
For men, that's really hard. Men have a hard time coming forward. Sexual response of men is different from women.
But in the nearly 2 decades between his time in Alaska and the allegations in 2011, Savala moved back to his childhood home in Houston. It was there that he began speaking at local churches and eventually was introduced to students.
And he introduced Daniel as the holiest man alive. And which, if somebody says the holiest man alive or introduced like that, you got to get to know him.
People just thought Daniel was the best thing since sliced bread.
But he just had this thing about him that was like, really humble, kind of a monkish and things like that. But your leadership promoted him to a level to where, in your early 20s and teens, you're just going to listen to your leaders.
With Savala's ever-growing popularity within church groups around Texas and his numerous guest speaker roles, he was eventually introduced to Eli Gautreaux, the director of the Chi Alpha South Texas branch. Gautreaux and Blumenkemper were invited to Savala's home in Houston.
Go into his room in the front of the house, and he comes out with a towel on. Like, were you just taking a shower? Like, you knew we were coming, right? And so he comes out, he's got his towel on, shakes Eli's hand. It was a little awkward. And he turns around, goes to the closet, and he drops his towel. And I realized, looking back, that's just grooming 101. That was the first part, to see what reaction you would have.
One of the main requirements for running for office in Texas is to live in the area you want to represent. You have to sign legal documents providing a residential address. But one candidate for Corpus Christi mayor didn't do that. And as we've discovered, the city's hands are tied when it comes to making sure that he's telling the truth.
They do have to live in the city 6 months, at least 6 months prior to the filing date.
By law, if you want to run for mayor of Corpus Christi, you must live at least 6 months in the city and a total of 12 months in the state of Texas. When 6 Investigates reviewed the application for a place on the ballot for mayoral candidate John Wright, we noticed he claimed to have lived in Corpus Christi for nearly 6 years. However, his application listed a UPS store address when he was supposed to provide a residential address.
You can't use a UPS store as your address.
Yes, you can. It's legal.
It says
you can't use a P.O. box.
Yours is just the UPS store right there, which you're saying is a P.O. box, correct?
Yes.
Yet, when you look at the actual application to run for office, it clearly states that a candidate cannot include a P.O. box or rural route as your address.
On record, you live here. You have lived here for over 6 months. You do have a physical mailing address. That is not the UPS store.
That's the only address I've been using, is the post office, is the UPS store, because I have had a trucking company and I work all over the country.
That doesn't answer the question on whether he has an actual residential address in Corpus Christi. So what's really going on?
I'll have to speak with the secretary and figure it out.
Right, you're going to have to anyway, but I'm asking you, personally, what happened there? Why didn't you put down your own address?
Because I thought I could use that address.
Even though it said you can't.
Wright told 6 Investigates he had documentation proving he lives in Corpus Christi. He also said he would provide it to City Secretary Rebecca Huerta. Has he stated to you a different address? Has he talked to you about that?
He has not. No, he has not.
Even if Wright did provide a new address, Texas law would prevent the city secretary from amending his application. They only use the first address provided. So, the residential address Wright provided cannot be changed. And this signed affidavit from the UPS store owner says that the UPS store isn't even a residence. Normally, statements made in an application for a place on the ballot are taken at face value unless a challenge is made against it. That's exactly what current Mayor Paulette Guajardo did. Typically, then and only then, an investigation into facts can start. But in this circumstance, the city secretary's hands are tied because of existing state law, and she cannot look into this address further. In a response to 6 Investigates' request from the Secretary of State regarding this matter, they wrote, quote, "The filing authority must accept the applicant's sworn affirmation regarding the location of the applicant's residence and can only challenge the location of the applicant's residence in a court of law," end quote.
So what's to stop any local or even a transplant from Nevada like myself from lying about their address on the application form and running for office anyway?
The person is swearing an oath. I mean, they're saying that everything on the application is true and correct. I'm sure there's legal ramifications to something like that.
At this point, with early voting less than a week away, there's no court challenge to Wright's residency. So Huerta tells me that Wright's name will remain on the ballot.
122, I just hit my unit.
Encountering a wrong-way driver can be a terrifying experience, especially when you're driving between Portland and Corpus Christi. Surprisingly, it's a fairly common occurrence with deadly consequences.
I'm sure there's more than what we know about. There's been plenty of wrong-way drivers that we get calls about. We rush down to the causeway and they never show up because they exited somewhere on North Beach.
A wrong-way driver, which almost all the time is an intoxicated driver, is an immediate threat, and we're going to take immediate action to take that vehicle off the roadway.
That immediate action can range from placing officers' cars in direct line of traffic to laying down spike strips. Or even using the squad cars as battering rams, like the video here.
It's the same risk that every citizen's having that has lost their life. We're looking at losing an officer every time this happens. If it's not an officer, it's very, very well going to be a citizen.
Whatever it takes, because I'm not going to have a drunk driver or a wrong-way driver hit a carload of innocent civilians and kill them like what's occurred on the Harbor Bridge, on the causeway. We're going to do everything we can to not allow that to occur in Portland.
Measures like these that the Portland PD incorporates are a polar opposite and possibly a direct result of Corpus Christi Police Department's no-chase policy, where they will not chase an intoxicated driver, nor will they pursue a wrong-way driver.
Other agencies don't take that quite of aggressive attitude. I've heard other departments say they're going to parallel them and try to get their attention.
Chief Corey tells me that the catalyst for most of these wrong-way drunk drivers are these. It's a multiple different off-ramps in tight proximity in Corpus Christi, right off the Harbor Bridge from Portland all the way here to Corpus Christi. It's already pretty dark out here, as you can see with our stage lighting off. What makes things worse, though, this street lamp over the off-ramp isn't even on. Unfortunately, these off-ramps are outside the jurisdiction of Portland PD, meaning they haven't even made any request to TxDOT to make any changes. One of the more obvious ones is getting rid of these double yellow lines indicating a 2-lane street right off of Tonkawa to Power. You could drive easily without even knowing it onto the freeway the wrong way.
I would hope that the city of Corpus Police Department would be dealing with TxDOT to get those things corrected.
144, you just went past me. Going off the line.
Generally, the policies and procedures for police departments using squad cars to disable other vehicles, well, that's usually discouraged. But the need to save lives has forced Portland PD to change tactics.
So that's our unit that was hit up here.
The chief supports us, our city management supports us, the city council supports us, and most importantly, the citizens in Portland support us, and they expect us to go out and prevent these things from happening.
We would like to see an engineering solution to the wrong-way drivers. We would like to see TxDOT take action, appropriate action that's going to that'll prevent these wrong-way drivers.
The chief tells me that until changes are made, Portland PD will continue to use any and all tactics to stop wrong-way drivers, protect its citizens, and hopefully make it in time to prevent tragedy. But as Lieutenant Owen recalls, they are sometimes too late.
Went up to the car, it had already caught fire, and unfortunately it's one of those times where it kind of messes with you after the fact. In the moment, you're there to do a job, but we watched him burn. I mean, there was nothing we could do. Can't prevent them all, but we can prevent a lot of what's occurred over the last few years.